Hi, everybody. Welcome to the DogCo Secrets podcast. My name is Michelle Kline. I am the host of the podcast as well as the founder of DogCo Launch, where pet care companies come to grow and scale. And today I want to do a little bit behind the scenes of the DogCo Business Summit, just to do a little bit of processing, talk about just some thoughts around the event, which was almost a month ago, which is wild. I just feel like we live in a time warp. Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about that event, a little bit about my thoughts and feelings about it now that it's had time to settle. We're 4 weeks away, which has been enough time for me to kind of like regroup, get my head back on straight. Yeah, so let's dig into it. I also got really sick after the summit, which I hugged probably 150 people. Like, let's be honest, if that didn't happen, I'm a medical miracle. They should study me. So next year, I will be taking vitamin C and trying to sleep a little bit more than I did. Just see if we can ward that off. I will probably still hug as many people, and that is what it is. So maybe next year I should just plan for the week off after the summit. But anyways, so when I was thinking about this episode and what I wanted to share, I wanted to anchor it in a story from about 2 years ago because the reaction to me throwing a summit was funny. Some people were like, I see the vision. That's amazing. And other people were like, truly, that's kind of a crazy thing that you decided to do. Usually it was a mix of both. People being like, wow, okay, that's big. I think the seed for the summit was planted at the story that I'm about to tell. So there is a conference I go to most years in LA, and it is called a pet care conference. But I had never heard of it when I had my company. I was doing research on events and I was like, okay, that's really intriguing to me. Like, it's out in LA. It has a lot of big players a part of it. Mars, Purina, Banfield, like, a lot of big players, like big money in the overall pet industry. But the title was pet care. So I was like, okay, like I'm sure that will have overlap with DogCo in some ways. And I got to the conference and it's a phenomenal conference. I will be going again this year. They focus a lot on startups in the pet space. It partners with an accelerator, which is like a startup, almost incubator where startups in the pet care industry can pitch to investors, pitch to private money, and it's cool. I always learn a lot. I leave really, really inspired. The seed for the summit started at this event because I go and I'm like, okay, I see a lot in grooming. Great. I see a lot in training, a lot in medical. Great. A lot in food, like pet food brands, kind of cutting edge stuff, different forms of protein. It was really neat. New advances in actual products. There was a wet cat food feeder that I seriously considered investing in. I was like, I think y'all are onto something. Didn't, but I hope they're doing well. And I was like, where's my niche? Where are we? And there was one single breakout talk on in-home pet care services, and the only representation on that stage from our segment of the industry was Rover. And I just remembered looking at that and realizing how separate and segmented our part of the pet industry is. The in-home pet care services for actual privately owned companies that offer pet sitting and dog walking. And there was no representation at this conference. And that's not a knock on them. It just was an experience. And it really stood out to me. I ended up having a conversation after that breakout session where I asked, I was like, why was this the only representation from the in-home pet care space? There are amazing companies in that space. And essentially they made the comment that in some ways they didn't know. It was kind of unsatisfactory. I'm not going to lie to you. And in other ways, it is so recent that our segment of the industry has had access to technology. Many businesses still are not on technology. It makes the data harder to track. It kind of boiled down to the return it would take to bring our segment of the industry fully in was too difficult. And I just remember having this thought where I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. And it kind of became this mission that I think actually that's where the summit came from of I want to bring companies together so that we can be making strides to kind of busting into this industry because we're such a core part of it. And I didn't see it represented there in all of these like very large scale brands. Now, that is not me saying that like I think the future of our industry is like public exits or taking on private investment. I actually would personally not do that. I'd recommend that you don't either, most likely depending on the circumstance. But it did show me that the rest of the pet industry, I don't think really knows or sees the scope of the in-home pet care services side of the industry. And that became a big mission of I want to bring us in further into the pet industry and to get us access to resources, to get us, a seat at the table as like the representation, I believe the truer representation than Rover, not necessarily knocking on Rover, but that to me did not feel like true representation from our industry. I was a little confused about, honestly, the way that Rover was presented at this conference because it was very much presented as a service provider, not a tech space. And again, that's probably a thread we don't need to pull here, but it stood out to me. And so I've revisited that conversation a lot in my mind over the last couple of years. So, okay, that's kind of category one. The second category of why the summit came to be is because I have a deep, deep, deep belief that in person events and in person connection is going to be almost a form of currency. I don't even know if that's the best word, but like it's so valuable. And I think as we're headed into this very AI-ified, automate-ified world, the ability to really connect with other people is pivotal. And I think especially in an industry like this one where already there can be so much isolation because, we're not in an office space typically. We don't see our teams that often in person. There can be a real sense of isolation. And also, I believe that like when you're in person together, you just expedite your own learning in a way that's really difficult to do digitally. It's one reason that I teach live with DogCo and have no plans to ever not do that. Because I think when you are like face to face with a human, it captures your attention in a way that's really difficult with a pre recorded video or like those things are valuable for sure. There is a place for them. But if we're looking at tiers of value, I think this face to face connection digitally is nowhere near in person. It's better than not. It's better than it just being fully asynchronous, but there's no replacement for in person connection. And so when I saw those two things, both like what I was seeing in the broader industry, as well as just believing that the utmost delivery of value and acceleration of speed, like acceleration of our industry getting to really get connected, really start to grow being in-person connection. Those two things, I was like, okay, I think a conference is the way to go. As part of that, I really wanted the conference to kind of set the stage for, I know I keep talking about this and it really is like very genuine to me. I very much believe that we're headed into a very exciting and accelerated season of the pet care industry. It's a really exciting time to be here. And I wanted to set I hope I achieved this. I wanted to set a stage with this conference of how seriously I take that upcoming season and how seriously I take the businesses that both I work with and also are kind of like around DogCo and like in our industry. I wanted the conference to set a precedent that is only just beginning of how impactful our businesses are and how much impact we can continue to create. Like, I wanted business owners to come in and be like, I am making an impact in this industry. I'm participating in the future of this industry. I'm on the forefront of the change and being a part of that. And that was very intentional in honestly how the entire conference was designed, from the lighting to the stage to the hype music everybody walked up to bringing in speakers like Joey Coleman and Trull, who are just phenomenal and giving people access to them, which was so cool. Like, both of them came to our mastermind client meetup and spent a lot of time with people over the weekend, which was so impactful. So that was my real hope of the summit. I think we had a phenomenal out of the gate run at that, and we're just getting started. So, which leads me to the third thing that I've been reflecting on with the summit. I hope this is coming out coherent because these are really top of mind thoughts. I wanted to put the heat on DogCo a little bit and to put the heat of, okay, we're doing the dang thing. We had an out of the gate year that next year we have to beat. And I'm excited about that and excited to be like kind of running with that momentum. But I really liked the idea of something that kind of forced DogCo to tackle something bigger than it's ever done. I mean, it's a new business, so there isn't that much to compare it to. Let's see. So 2026 will be my third year in the business. This was my second year full time. So we're a new business, but I really liked the idea of, okay, we're not going to take a step forward. We're going to take a leap and see if we can. And my team rose just so phenomenally to that. I think this moment imprinted on my brain for forever. Doug Keeling, who's a good friend of mine, came up to me at the summit and I hadn't seen him yet. And he was like, hey, so you do absolutely nothing half-assed, huh? I was like, hi to you too. No, I do not. That made me laugh. It was kind of exactly the vibe I wanted people to feel is like, oh, we're doing the damn thing. So I'm just excited for next year. I'm excited to continue to like reach and just move into this next phase. So a couple things on that I've been marinating on for what to expect for next year. And this is going to be a shorter episode, but just wanted you guys to have a couple of these little top of mind thoughts that I've been kicking around. We're going to continue to elevate on the speakers and the topics. We're going to make the food better. If you were there, I heard you on the feedback. I don't disagree. Some of that was miscommunication with the venue. Don't worry, that will be addressed. We're going to find more ways for people to really know each other, for real connection to happen, and for companies to leave feeling like they have a roadmap into 2027. And I'm just so excited. So thank you if you came. Thank you for your support. If you're still listening to this podcast, or this episode, even if you were not there, I hope this inspired some thoughts about joining next year. The dates for next year are October 2nd through the 4th. And we announced this a little bit late last time, so it kind of messed up some travel plans for people. So I want you to know from the very beginning, we are bringing Joey Coleman back for a Friday workshop on the 2nd. So please make sure you're in town by lunch. And he's going to be doing client retention. So kind of the second half of his expertise area. We're bringing him back for that. I don't see how we couldn't because his work was just so phenomenal. So be in town by then, and it's going to be a great time. So more to come, but I'll talk to y'all soon.